Hey guys, today we are going to begin by discussing citation basics. The examples in this video will be in MLA style, but if you have any questions about APA style, I can answer those as well. And I do plan on having videos up in the future that discuss APA style specifically. So I really want to start this video by saying that I know how overwhelming and stressful it can be to write essays that require citations when you don't really feel familiar with the process and when you haven't had a lot of practice. And I want to encourage you by saying that this is really one of those things that just requires consistent practice. And the more you practice using citations, the easier it's going to become for you. I personally like to mentally divide the different citation types into categories, which I'm going to go over today. And this helps me to feel more organized when I am thinking about the different citation types. So I hope this video is helpful. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first way that I like to mentally divide citation types into categories is by looking at these two largest citation types. And these are in-text citations, which are also known as parenthetical citations, and the citations that appear on your work's cited page. So, in-text citations or parenthetical citations are used to give credit within your essay. These are abbreviated versions of your complete citations, so they're shortened versions of the citations that you will have at the end of your essay. And the style of these will depend on the type of citation you use in your work's cited page. The other type of citation is your complete or full citation, which appears in your works cited page at the end of your essay. Now, no matter what citation style you are using, you do need the in-text citations and the page at the end with your complete citations. But in APA style, we call this page the references page instead of works cited. Now, the full citations that appear on your page at the end of your essay provide complete information about the source, including things like the author's name, the title, the date, and basically anything else your instructor or your audience might need to find your sources. I like to think of it like this. The parenthetical citations or the in-text citations are basically stamps that our audience can use if they would like to find the full citation to learn more about the source. The works cited page is created so that your audience can easily find the source that you used, even if you haven't provided it for them. This also depends on the type of citation, and we are going to go over some of the most common citation types in just a little while. So when we are thinking about the different types of citations, I like to think of it as two different categories. You have your print sources, and then you have your electronic sources. In your print sources, these will be things like books, paper copies of newspapers, magazines, and basically anything that you can physically hold in your hands. Electronic sources are things like entire websites, pages on a website, articles from academic journals, and also things that you might not think you can even use as sources, like YouTube videos and tweets. The awesome thing about this is that MLA style does give us examples for how we can cite sources like YouTube videos and tweets. So the world of electronic sources is expanding, and it's definitely the most frequently used. So when we do look at citation examples, most of what I am going to show you will focus on electronic sources. So again, we can divide this even further into two more categories. If we're just focusing on electronic sources, which you will definitely use the most, we can look at these as non-academic sources and academic sources. Now, it is very important when you are writing an essay in any class that you understand what your instructor wants. Sometimes your instructor will want you to do some more casual research and use non-academic sources. This is especially true in your earlier college courses and maybe your high school classes as well, where you are just practicing citations in general. And non-academic sources are going to include things like websites that you can access through Google, podcasts, YouTube videos, tweets, and other sources that are not peer-reviewed or written by professionals in the field. On the other hand, academic sources are things like scholarly articles, which are found in academic journals. These are going to be peer-reviewed, which means that other people in the field have read it and approved it for publication in these scholarly journals. Now, I personally like to think of academic journals and scholarly articles in the same way that I think of magazines. Think about how you would flip through a magazine. The magazine that you are looking at likely has multiple different, how would I say, like publications or issues. Maybe, for example, Southern Living, they publish a new magazine every single month. And within the magazine, you're going to find articles written by a variety of different authors, articles with different titles and different topics, but they are all focused on the similar theme of Southern living and the things that Southern living talks about. Academic journals are the same way. You might find an academic journal, for example, that talks about teaching writing. Within this academic journal, you're going to find articles that are written by a variety of different people on a variety of topics, but they all focus on the same theme. I think once we understand academic journals in this way that's more familiar to us, it's a little bit easier to understand what they are and why we use them. The other type of academic source that you might find is ebooks that are peer-reviewed books written by experts in the field. Ebooks are a lot more common than they used to be, and you can definitely find these in your database as well. So before I begin showing you specific examples, I want to direct you to a couple of resources online that can help you to figure out the specific details for all of your different citations. So the one I am most familiar with is the online writing lab at Purdue University, which is often referred to as Purdue OWL. Purdue OWL is one of the most popular tools that people use for their citations. I do not recommend using a citation generator. Typically, these come out with mistakes. They can often be messy. And if you do use a citation generator, you still want to utilize one of these sources for making sure that everything is clean and tidy. So the other source, which I am not as familiar with, but I think I'm going to really like, is Excelsior Owl. So this would be Excelsior University's online writing lab. And what I think I'm going to like about it is that it is a very clean website, very well organized, and I think it's going to be a really great tool for finding what I need quickly. So because I am more familiar with Purdue Owl, I am going to be using examples from Purdue Owl. I'm just going to show you how to find what you need using Purdue Owl. And if you want to try Excelsior, or if you do give it a try, definitely let me know what you think. Okay, so here I am showing you Purdue Owl's website, and I am specifically on the page that shows you electronic sources because this is the type of source that we are going to use the most. But I do want to show you that if you go to the homepage for Purdue Owl, you can find a lot of other information, not just with the electronic sources in MLA style, but also they have an APA guide, and they have some really great sections on avoiding plagiarism, and they have a resume guide. So I still highly recommend this site. It's something I've been using for over a decade now, and I'm so grateful for it. So let's go back to their page on electronic sources. There's so much good information in here. Let's begin by looking at the different types of citations that they have here. So you'll see that they've got some examples of basic styles for citations of electronic sources and just kind of general overview of what is going to appear in the citations. But if you scroll down, you're going to be able to find categories that you are more likely to use in your essays. So we have citing an entire website. Using this citation type is something that you will do only if you are using more than one page on a website. If you are only using one page from a website, you're going to want to scroll down and use this type of citation, which is a page on a website. Now, a couple of things I want you to notice about the examples here that I really, really love. Sometimes when you are using a citation from a page on a website, there won't be a human's name, an actual person's name to use in your citation. If there is no person's name, you cannot replace it with the name of the website. So you will begin your citation with the title of the article instead, or the title of the web page. Typically, the title of the page is going to be the header. It's going to be at the top of the page, and it's going to be much larger text. The other thing I want you to notice about the differences between these two examples is that in the first example, there is not a date on this how to make vegetarian chili article. So the person creating the citation had to use the accessed date instead. If you can find the date of when the article or the web page was published, then you're going to put that date earlier in your citation directly after the title of the website. And if you can't find the date, then it's going to be in the accessed date section. Purdue Owl is also really helpful for things like citing ebooks and images. If the work cited is available on the web only, then provide the name of the artist, the title of the work, and then follow the citation format for a website. Oftentimes, students in their early years in college need to cite things like images, and so this is a great example if this is something you have to do. I'm going to skip web magazines, excuse me, and also the online scholarly journal. This is something I talked about earlier, but I am not focusing on academic sources in this video. This will be in a future video. So if you need this information, then definitely watch for the video on citing scholarly sources. We're going to skip down to some other very commonly used electronic sources. These are things that we are really familiar with, which I think is a very interesting thing, to see things like tweets and YouTube videos being cited in our essays. So you'll notice with these Twitter examples, the very first thing that is used in the citation is the Twitter handle. There's a big difference between the way that we cite a tweet and a YouTube video. For YouTube videos, we are going to provide a human's name first if we have it. And if we don't, then we are going to skip ahead and just use the title of the video. And then we always have the uploaded by statement directly after the word YouTube. And the uploaded by section is referring to the channel name rather than the name of the person. And as you can see, you can also cite things like comments on a website or comments on an article. This can be really interesting if we are exploring things like discourse community, and this is something I will talk about in a later video as well. So that's all for now. Let's talk a little bit more now about some general ideas that you may find helpful as you are creating your works cited page. Okay, so now that we have talked about the basics of citations and some of the specific examples that we looked at on Purdue OWL, let's look at how we can create these citations in Microsoft Word. Most of your teachers are probably going to prefer that you use Microsoft Word, but I know that a lot of universities are also making a shift to using things like Google Docs. So it's really going to be up to your instructor and your university which one you are using, but we are still using Microsoft Word here. And it is an important tool that you should know how to use in your professional life. So if you're not familiar with it, I highly recommend getting comfortable with it now. So like we talked about before, we have parenthetical citations, which occur inside your essay. And then we also have a works cited page, which is where you will put your full citations at the end of your essay. You'll also notice that my examples here are in Times New Roman 12-point font, which is really a standard. And also, if you go into paragraph and you look at my settings, I've got it set to double spaced, and don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. So here are two examples of parenthetical citations that I would use if I were citing a page on a website, which is one of the most common non-academic source types. In the first example here, you'll see that I do have the name of a real person. So I am going to put the last name in parentheses like this. Notice that the sentence that I am quoting is in quotation marks, and then the citation itself is actually part of the sentence with the period appearing after the parenthetical citation. Now let's imagine that we are using a page on a website that does not have an actual human name. We are going to use the shortened title instead, and it will appear in quotation marks as you see here. Next, we've got our Works Cited page, and I do like to create a page break in order to give the Works Cited page its own space. You'll see that I've got works and cited both capitalized, and in this example, I've got a name of a person, first name, last name, the title of the web page, this is the complete title, the name of the website, the date, and the URL. Now let's show you something that is going to make citations so much easier for you. After you have completed all of your citations, you're going to highlight the Works Cited page. Then go over to Home and click the little arrow for paragraph. You're going to use paragraph settings a lot as you write for college. So we're going to go to the indentation section, and we're going to go over here to special. And when we are creating citations, we always want to have hanging indentations for our citations. So let's just imagine here that I've got multiple citations and they are different. We're just pretending here. What separates each of the citations, or what allows your audience to see where one citation ends and where one begins, is that hanging indentation. Because of your hanging indentation, you don't have to do anything wild like adding a bunch of extra space between your citations. Everything should be spaced exactly the same throughout. Okay, I hope that this is really helpful to you. Let's now just summarize everything we've talked about, and then we'll be done. So as a quick recap, today we talked about the different citation types, including parenthetical citations and works cited citations. We talked about print versus electronic sources, electronic source examples, and I also showed you how to create your citations in Word. I hope that you found all of this information helpful. I know it's so much to digest at once, so I will not be presenting any more new information in this video. If you are looking for more detailed stuff, make sure to subscribe, and I will be posting more detailed stuff in the future. And if you have any questions about anything you are working on for your citations, feel free to ask. That's all for today. Thank you.